Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello, welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we're talking about the tarot card, the Star, the very beginning of Aquarius season.
This is from my Zodiac Tarot guidebook. She says, Aquarius is the one who brings water. It reinvigorates the world through emotions that are not individual, but rather shared, with an eye to universal love, the importance of ideals, and community.
I've been thinking a lot about community lately, this time of year, and what's happening in, the politics and in the world right now. And I feel like Aquarius is a lot about us and how we're relating to one another.
Yes.
You one time said that Aquarius is like the energy and the information going overhead in the telephone wires and the power cables and the.
Yeah,
Do you remember
I remember that?
What is
I do.
what are
the
those
power
called?
lines?
Power lines. and power lines are so that we can communicate with one another.
Yes.
And that we're connected to one another. So I see it as like a grid, that the Aquarius energy to me sometimes is about me, but also about you and about our neighbors and how we're connected.
Yes.
But that power line imagery helped me a lot with that. Okay, let me get started before we get too sidetracked. The card name is the Star. Sometimes it's called Hope. We'll talk about a couple different authors' interpretations of the name when we get to card comparison. The card number where we are in the Major Arcana journey is 17, Roman numeral XVII. The element is fixed air. Is this a yes or a no card? This is a yes. I feel yes energy from this card. The Star is ruled by a zodiac sign of Aquarius. I revisited our Aquarius podcast from last year. We called it Into the Flow. A couple notes I pulled out of that was about Aquarius being the primordial water. Waters of firmament, ether, prana, chi, spirit, life force. It's electromagnetic forces. It's negative ions. It's waterfalls where earth and water meet. It's also rivers and thunderstorms. And look, my note right there, overhead electrical wires. It's called Aquarius, which makes us think of water, but this is an air sign. The water bearer is the archetype of this sign. It is not literally what is inside that urn. That urn is full of prana, life, chi. It's not water. It's life force. Aquarius can represent the need for humanity and civilization to reform and grow. And Aquarius energy is innovative. It's independent. It's forward thinking. And it is also about humanity and humanitarianism, community and connection.
I think about standing apart, also sometimes called standing in a park on this podcast. We're all part of the collective, but we're all individuals. And I feel like Aquarius is about us as individuals and how we operate and function in the greater collective. It's that interplay between the two.
The season of Aquarius is the middle of winter where we live in the northern hemisphere. But we're past the winter solstice. So that means the days are getting longer. We are getting more sunshine. We're having more daylight. And these days means that we have survived the winter. We have just a few more weeks to go, so that it's full of hope. Even though you may live in a part of the world that is full of snow and ice, or you might live in part of the world that's full of water and heat and humidity. But we know that the seasons shift and change. All we have to do is hold on. More sunshine is coming our way. The planet is Aquarius's ruling planet of classically Saturn, modern Uranus. The house is Aquarius's house. The 11th house, the house of blessings. The mantra could be, I know. The crystals, in one of my books, the author has listed crystals. I am going to talk about a few. Kunzite is a pale lavender. It can look like a pink or a lavender selenite or a pink or a lavender hued milky quartz. I do not have one of these. They look beautiful, and I looked them up. Also, dioptase, which is and I don't have this crystal either. This is a dark green color, and sometimes it comes in crystal clusters, but when it is in a tumbled rock, it looks like magical forest moss. It is so beautiful that I'm like, I don't know if and I don't have any of that crystal either. So I thought about the crystals I do have, and the one that I like for the star is amethyst, which is also the birthstone for Aquarius. I have a good bit of amethyst. Amethyst is very plentiful because there's a lot of it available for mining. There's a lot of it on the market. But to me, that doesn't, just because it's plentiful, doesn't take away from how much I absolutely adore it. The lavender color, the energy of it, amethyst symbolizing wisdom, peace, and spiritual awareness. I love that you can get a piece of like gold or silver jewelry with a fancy cut amethyst stone in it, but you can also get amethyst at your rock shop or your crystal shop. Moving into some correspondences, the Hebrew letter of Tzadzi, and I don't know if I said that right, it's Tzaddi. The symbol is the fishhook, and that's based on how the letter looks. The meaning here is hope. The tree of life pathway is the 18th between the sphere of Yesod for foundation and also magic, and also Netzach, the sphere of triumph and endurance. The chakra that was listed in my book is a chakra I'm not very familiar with. It's one of the ones outside of the 7 that I know, is the higher heart chakra. Have you heard of this one, Nicole?
I have.
Okay. It's new to me. It's for it's called the higher heart chakra or thymus chakra. It is the energy center between the heart and the throat. It's linked to the immune system. Colors of pink, aquamarine, and turquoise. The crystals for this chakra, specifically in the book I was looking at, were rose quartz, green aventurine, and jade, which are similar to what I would consider for the heart chakra as well. And to heal and connect to this chakra, the author was recommending meditation and affirmations. And the higher heart chakra is connected to your soul's truth. It's the bridge to unconditional love, spiritual connection, compassion, and forgiveness. I like that chakra. I want to know more about it and to connect with my higher heart chakra. I originally wrote down the crown chakra for me, Sahasrara, 1,000-petaled lotus. Out of the 7 that I'm very familiar with, the crown chakra, to me, connects me close to the energy of the star. And that's because of the color, violet and white light. And the crown chakra governs our sense of unity, purpose, and our connection to the cosmos, our connection to the stars.
If I'm remembering correctly, the higher heart chakra is connected to Christ consciousness. And in the energy healing modalities that I have done my training in, Christ consciousness is another way to describe like the vibration of the energy in that chakra. It's not religious, it's just kind of speaking to the vibrational quality of the energy.
I think we can be very compassionate and forgive ourselves, but also compassion and forgiveness is a core component in how we relate to the people around us and our community, which is very very Aquarian concepts.
And I did pull up my little cheat sheet on the houses. So in addition to it being the house of blessings, my little sheet has friends and social causes as part of the 11th house, which is so fitting for Aquarius, but also a great place to have that compassion.
This is an air sign. This is fixed air. This is all air, Aquarius. This is about ideas, communication, talking. It's not, I mean, it's called Aquarius, but it's not water. It's about communication and community. And it being in the 11th house and that part of the hero's journey and that part of the zodiac wheel, it's higher level communication. It is like if Gemini was our siblings and Libra is our business partners, Aquarius is our friends. There are people who we want to be around, people we cherish, community we need. That's the connection of Aquarius too. That
the people who speak our language.
Yes, our tribe, our tribes, our community. That's the communication energy of Aquarius. So now talking about the symbols and history of that star tarot card, that Rider-Waite-Smith card. I'm going to talk about a few of the symbols. The first one is nakedness. Generally symbolizes purity and authenticity. Nakedness symbolizes truth and honesty. And also nakedness, divine connection. There's nothing to hide behind. You're letting it all hang out. You are being your authentic, truest self. There's flowing water. For the use in this card, coming out of those urns, is it literally water or is it that firmament? Is it that prana? Is it that ether? You know, it could be all of that, but that is to symbolize renewal, hope, and rebirth or birth. I had a lot of fun thinking about the stars in the star card. There's one there's 8. There's a big 8-pointed star. That could be Venus, the morning star. And it could be Sirius, sometimes called the dog star. If it connected to Venus, you could see if we look at the Greek Roman history of Venus and the connection to being born out of the water. And the Sirius connection is more with the ancient Egyptian god Iris and the ibis. So there's a little bird on the tree in the background of a lot of the cards that could be connected to Iris, which is connected to Sirius. And the star card in this time of year from Babylon and Egypt was timed at the overflowing of the Nile. That was this time of year that happened, which was a time of fertilization and renewal. So that star could be directly related to that star, and the meaning and the time of year of Aquarius. So the 7 smaller stars, I read that it is thought that they represent the 7 chakras. I don't feel that.
It's interesting
when I look at this card. I read it more than once, and I read that from multiple sources, and I don't know how much the chakras had to do with Rider-Waite-Smith. I just don't. I can't connect those two together, that those represent the 7 chakras. I think it has to do with 17. I think it's 1 and 7 that equals 8, which is numerology. I think there's the 1 star and then the 7 smaller stars to represent the wholeness of that number, but also maybe something else I just don't know yet. But I don't see chakras. I don't get that from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
I'm going to come back to the connection you made to the number 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me that all your reading and research said it was the chakras, because I didn't read that anywhere.
Maybe that was the algorithm I was stuck on. You read it one time and it just keeps giving you more of what you already read.
I found that it's the traditional 7 visible planets.
I like that. I like that.
Yes, I liked it too. I was like, oh, we're going to make this card about astrology. So I really latched on to that. And I think as we go through my notes, I kind of really focus on like the astrological meanings of this card. But I liked that. I don't have an explanation for the 8th big yellow star, but the 7 white little stars.
I like that. That to me, that makes more sense in the way that I understand the history of this card and I understand what this card represents. Is that more likely to me, the 7 visible planets. I want to talk about that bird once again, and depending on the cards that you have, listeners, the bird might be more or less clear what it is, but it's thought that it was the ibis, which is connected to the Egyptian god Thoth. And the ibis itself is connected to the Hebrew letter of Tzadzi, because the bill of the ibis is the fishhook. It represents that energy of the connection between land and water, of fishing, and the fishhook representing hope. I thought that was a really interesting connection.
I have a book that breaks down all the symbols on the Rider-Waite-Smith cards. And this book in particular said that this bird is the bird of Hermes, which I have not heard of before. And let's see, this book said the bird of Hermes primarily refers to an alchemical symbol, often depicted as a phoenix, representing the volatile vapors in creating the Philosopher's Stone, symbolizing regeneration and self-consumption for transformation. Apparently, there's something called the Ripley Scroll. It's an alchemical text, and there's a phrase in this scroll eating my wings to make me tame, which suggests a process of self-destruction or limitation to achieve a higher state or purpose, like a phoenix. So I can see how that meaning would fit with the themes of this card.
We keep picking up information on the Philosopher's Stone. I want to do a deep dive into that. Major themes of this card. I picked out I picked out hope, rebirth, and light and darkness. But there are so many more. So many different takes on this card.
So Christina mentioned the 1 and the 7 reducing to 8. And as we were chatting, especially that bit about the Nile flooding, that made me think about how, like, I'm a Leo, so the opposite sign to my sun sign is Aquarius. That's it's Leo Aquarius. So it's interesting that its companion card, the number 8, strength, is Leo's card. And I remember talking about 8-8 Lionsgate during our strength podcast.
Yeah.
And that's when the Nile floods. But again, like, these two signs are in opposition to each other, just like the full moons every month. It's that opposition.
Well, just like we have Cancer and Capricorn, we have the summer solstice and the winter solstice that are like major solar events. There's also these seasonal events that would happen in opposition. Leo and Aquarius, depending on where you are in the world, one could represent the height of growing season and the other could represent the complete end of the growing season. There is a connection there in the energies. And that's another thing that you just have to, dig into.
Yeah. All right. So a little bit more on 17. 1 with 7. This is a very powerful message that indicates a new start in philosophy or belief system that is going to lead to your spiritual awakening and a willingness to break with tradition in order to walk one's own path. And I didn't write that. Alana Fairchild wrote it, but I wrote in my notes that is so nonconformist Uranus ruled Aquarius. Like, this is making sense. And I know I've said it before, and I know it's the whole reason we're doing the podcast this way, but looking at the card and the house and the astrological sign and the planet, like, it just makes it all make so much more sense to me. 1 and 7 are the numbers that bring a message of constructive rebellion. I bolded that in my notes. Breaking with what you have been told or taught because you are thinking for yourself. The number 17 encourages us to trust ourselves. If you don't fit in, don't try to. When I read that, I was like, oh, because it's so easy.
Right?
But that's, I think, very Aquarian, standing apart or in a park. If you don't fit in, don't try to. If you see things differently, that's part of your wisdom. If you want to go beyond what you have been taught, now is the time to do so. Question everything, which is very air energy.
Yes, it is.
The number 17, in conclusion, is essentially about you having permission from the universe to find your own freedom. Okay. Coming up in Aquarius season, I read my Aquarius quote at the beginning of the episode and then didn't tell you the important Aquarian dates. So I'll do that now real quick. By the time this podcast comes out, the sun will have entered Aquarius. And so has Mercury on the 19th and 20th. On the 23rd, Mars also enters Aquarius. On January 26th, this is kind of exciting, Neptune enters Aries. setting us up for that Saturn-Neptune conjunction about a month later. So January 26th, Neptune enters Aries. February 1st, full snow moon in Leo.
Mm-hmm.
My planner has, I know we say Imbolc is on February 1st. My little planner has it on February 2nd.
It depends on a couple different factors, and to pin in bulk to a date is done for convenience of the community to celebrate it on the same day. But I was recently at Witch Camp and we talked about the cross quarter days being celebrated on the second full moon from the equinox or the solstice. So Imbolc is celebrated on the second full moon from the winter solstice, which this year happens to be on the calendar date that Imbolc was assigned to. But in reality, Imbolc is a floating date. It's whenever that full moon is. It's kind of like the Lunar New Year for the Chinese calendar. It happens at a different date every year because it's based on the moon cycle. So that's very exciting that the calendar date and the full moon will match up for Imbolc. And the full moon is not, I mean, there is a point when it's at its fullest, but it is also a period of time. The full moon is also a period of time, right? So it can be, Imbolc can be marked on the 1st, the 2nd, or the 3rd, or the end of January. But I'm pretty excited about that. I think I like it when it lines up like that. That's fun.
We have, after Imbolc, February 10th, Venus enters Pisces. I think Venus is exalted in Pisces. The 13th or 14th of February, I've started seeing conflicting dates now. We have Saturn entering Aries. We're just days away from that big conjunction at this point, and we'll end Aquarius season with a big shebang. We've got the lunar Imbolc, Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse, a new moon, and a solar eclipse in Aquarius, all on February 17th.
Nice.
A lot going on.
The fire horse. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get into card comparisons. My Zodiac Tarot, we have a nude figure standing rather than kneeling, pouring from 2 cups, just like Rider-Waite-Smith, 1 cup or vessel, jug. Christina called it something else, and now I'm blanking. An urn. 1 is being poured into a body of water. 1 is being poured onto the land. And on the Zodiac Tarot card, it's being poured in such a way where like the stream of water looks like tree roots. Another big difference is the yellow star overhead, that 8th bigger star, is actually the figure's head on this card. It's like part of their body. And
how I feel about that.
I didn't like it at first either. A different guidebook had this to say, and I think I read it after I looked at the card, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. So this guidebook, Guided Tarot, said the star represents all that is possible when you allow healing energy to flow into your consciousness, leading to greater healing in both the physical body and the spiritual self. So for me, if I think about allowing healing energy to flow into my consciousness, when I envision that, like I envision healing energy going to my head, specifically like my brain, because that I'm an overthinker, I'm an overanalyzer, right? Like that's where my operating systems feel like they live in my body. So then it started to make a little bit more sense looking at this card, that like the healing for me needs to happen in my thinking and my consciousness. And then that leads to greater healing in my physical body and my spiritual self. So I decided I liked it, but it did take me a minute. I was like, what is happening? In the Medicine Woman Tarot, she renamed this card the Grandfathers.
Okay.
In the distance, there's a mountain peak. The star is kind of like above the mountains. It's above the tree line. In the foreground, we have a group of 4 people. They look like they're about to go on a hike, take a walk. One figure is pointing kind of towards the waterfall, so we're kind of assuming that's where they're going. And in the foreground, next to the group of people taking a walk, there's a really still, observant, what looks like to me a grandfather figure. And I get a lot of protective and protection feelings from this card. I feel like what this card is telling me is I'm always being sort of watched over and cared for. And let me see. This came from her guidebook. She said, now more than ever, a certain history is becoming important to you. Contact sources of ancient wisdom for fresh insight into your situation. Honor the ways of your grandfathers. And to me, this felt like a message of getting into things like astrology. I won't let it go. Metaphysical practices, metaphysical studies, the occult, things like shamanism, paganism, that I think do give us hope and meaning. So I tried. In my Antique Anatomy Tarot, the stars are represented by vertebrae. There's 7 sort of smaller vertebrae, and then there's one larger vertebrae at the top of the card. And there's a right hand with the index finger pointing up at this like large vertebrae. And the hand that's pointing upwards, it's really just like tendons and bones. That's really all we're seeing with this hand. Spiritually, the spine symbolizes being a conduit for life force energy. So if we think about how Aquarius is the water bearer, but that water is really like prana or chi, primordial water, Kundalini. The spine represents strength. We're tying back to that strength card again. It also represents integrity and purpose and is the body's central channel for consciousness and spiritual evolution. And there are also some pink flowers on this card for unconditional love, self-love, devotion, connection. It's making me think of the high heart chakra, that pink color. So they're all kind of communicating these themes in their own way. And my last card is Mystic Mondays. There's a star polyhedron in the center of the card. And I didn't know that word until I looked up what is a 3-dimensional pinata looking star called. And it gave me that information. So that's kind of what it looks like. The background of this card, we have sort of gradient and flowing blues, purples, and greens. On this star, I count 10 points. It's a 3-dimensional object, so that's probably not actually correct. But nonetheless, I'm reading it as having 10 points to include our new planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because I'm hanging on to that astrology meaning. And if we're going to go the astrology route, this card is making me think of our star charts and how we're all unique in terms of our star chart, but we're also connected through the stars. So very Aquarian, that example, to use astrology as a way for us to have both our uniqueness and individuality and be part of the collective.
Starting my card comparison with the Spirit Song Tarot. It's card 17. It's called the Star. The swan is the animal picked to represent this card's energy, with the two keywords of peace and healing. When I look at this card, I noticed that it's a swan in rippling water, and there's probably a lotus-like flower that looks like a star right there. Doesn't it look like a star? The flower.
It does.
So swans themselves are I say this about every single animal, very fascinating. But swans can live up to 20 years. They're found all over the world except Africa and Antarctica. The males are called cobs, the females are called pens, and the babies are cygnets. When a group of swans are flying, they're called a wedge. When a group of swans are in the water, they're called a bevy. Most mate for life, so they have very strong pair bonds. And they are very territorial and aggressively defend their nests. They are big. They can weigh up to 30 pounds. They have a 10-foot wingspan. They're the largest flying birds of the waterfowl in North America. They're huge. I don't have any personal experience of being close to swans that I don't have a sense of how big they are. But you think about those attributes of swans. So then when we think about swan as a spirit animal or swan spiritually, they symbolize grace, beauty, love, and fidelity, but also purity and transformation. They can represent creativity and protection, and they symbolize a connection between air, land, and water, and earth, essentially. When I think of swans, I think of Saraswati, the Hindu goddess of arts, creativity, and music. Those are the ones that stand out to me. And she rides on the back of a swan. There's a lot of swans in the spiritual realm. This is just touching on some of the key features of swans. But if you are being called to, or you're seeing swans, go look up more on that. They have a very rich symbolic spiritual history. For the Wild Unknown Tarot, it is XVI, Roman numeral 17. It's called the Star. Keywords: hope and peace of mind. There's a large 5-pointed star, and it's red, yellow, and green against a black background with a bunch of other smaller stars behind it. It's the card is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom, which gives me a sense of drawing our awareness upwards towards the star. It makes me think of when you walk out into the night sky and you make a wish on the star. Nicole, do you wish on the first star that you see or the brightest star that you see?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that a fun thing to think about? Because I've done both, but now I know that probably that big bright star I'm looking at is a planet, and I could take out my phone and now I'm convinced that it's always Jupiter. But you could wish on Jupiter, you know what I mean? You could wish on Venus. That I I've done both. I've done the first star and I've done the brightest star. Depends on kind of how long I'm outside for and how many stars are in the sky. But do you have a when you wish upon a star, what's your routine?
Okay, this is gonna sound silly, but I always thought you had to wait for a shooting star so you could wish on the shooting star.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood the
isn't
instructions
it?
at some point, but um I feel like if you stand out there long enough, you'll see a shooting star because they're pretty common.
I remember when you and I were in California, we saw Shooting Star together.
Yeah, that
That
was
was so
wild.
cool. Most of
Yeah.
the time you see it, you get a glimpse of it by yourself, but you and I happen to be looking in the same space at the same time. But the the spell I say is starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might have this wish I wish tonight. Do you say that when you wish on your star?
Mm-mm.
Because it could also be starlight, star bright, a brightest star I see tonight, or biggest
Oh.
star I see tonight. Yeah, that's the little spell that goes with it. Anyway, so I think of the wishing star when I see the Wild Unknown tarot star card. The author writes in their guidebook, it is not about actions or situations. It's simply about connecting to the part of you that is hopeful and serene. And that is
Hmm.
why we make wishes, because we are hopeful. In The Secrets of the Witch's Garden, this is Roman numeral XVII 17. It's called star, and the keyword is renewal. The card is mostly blue and green. It has a background of night blooming jasmine. There's a snow white peacock. The author has that snow white peacock symbolizing energetic power, hypnotic strength, and manifested divinity. There's a shooting star in this card.
I just saw that.
Yeah, I didn't and my cards don't have a shooting star. Is that the only shooting star we have in this card? And the shooting star to me, the author has it written as all psychic and traumatic energy being released in the energy of that shooting star, almost as if the wish was heard and granted, or the energy was absorbed and released. The character in this card is dressed in a pale green dress, head tilted back, eyes closed, face serene and soft, almost meditative, as she pours out that it's not water, it's not air, it's life force pouring out of the urn across her lap through her fingertips down into the pool of water that she's sitting near. Lots of imagery in that card to get a different take on the energies of the star card, because I definitely feel a different energy in that illustration than I do in the Rider Waite Smith deck.
I noticed that her clothing, the witch's green dress, sort of becomes the watery substance,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever she's pouring out of the urn also becomes this flowy, ethereal substance. And on my um, medicine woman tarot, there's two figures in my card where it's like the water sort of becomes their clothing, or their clothing
Yeah.
becomes the water. So there's an element of that in both of our two of our
The
cards anyway.
the water, and in the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, the character, whether this character is an embodiment of the hopefulness of the star, or if that character is an embodiment of the archetype of Aquarius, the water bearer, the the clothing, or the raiment, how do you say that? Raiment?
Remnant.
Yeah, that the character is wearing is, it's not clothing, it's like part of the energy of what is pouring out of the urn and the water flowing at her feet. It's not, to me, it's sort of like symbolic of energy. But anyway, that's you can look at that card and see lots of different takes on the meaning of the star card versus the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And then finally, the Sacred She, Roman numeral 17, called Understanding. The character in this card, central character, face in the center. I feel like that's hair, but now that I look at it, it could just be the blackness of the black sky surrounding the head. But at first I thought it was her brown curly hair kind of around her head. And then you could definitely see the neck and the ramament that this character is wearing, again, is just like energy waves. It's just flowy. It could be watery. It could be airy, but it's not like clothing. It's what she's draped in. There is a large star, 8-pointed star at the forehead, and then there's a smaller star. Look where it is, at her higher heart chakra.
That was between the first thing I noticed.
Yes, it's between her heart and her throat. Her eyes are closed. Her face is soft, deep meditation and contemplation. And she is solid, but not solid at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, she is human, but also not. She is in the physical world, but also in the metaphysical world when I look at that. Right? She's in the in-between place when I look at that card. That's the feeling I get. The author writes in that guidebook, after crisis and upheaval, a silence of understanding arises.
It kind of makes me think of, and not to be confusing with the elements, but still waters run deep. It's kind of like the vibe that just came over me. Okay, so putting it all together, I liked this quote from my Tarot Fundamentals book. It said that this card, if it were to speak to you, it would say, I show you what is possible when you have proven your strength. I am the vulnerability that is the birthplace of joy and freedom. Let's see. So hope, allowing yourself to be open, trust and faith. We have themes of healing, renewal and clarity, serenity, harmony, calmness and tranquility, emotional and spiritual riches. That made me think of Christina's last card called Understanding. Also occult understanding, learning astrology. That actually came from one of my books, a different book, a corroborating book. I'm not just pushing my own agenda now. Creative flow, inspiration and purpose. And last but not least, authenticity and individuality, just like our unique star charts. And then for reversals, reversals could convey despair, being disconnected from source, in the dark, and adrift, being anchorless, just kind of floating in nothingness, no meaning. Trouble or difficulty accepting help when it's being offered, and perseverance.
The question in the Secrets of the Witch's Garden to write the reversal is, what can I accept?
That's a good question.
To come into that silence of understanding, we have to accept and take in what has happened, right? because the card before this is the Tower, the sudden upheaval. And so this might be that time after that upheaval to you. And we have to accept it.
I got this card a lot kind of in the season of my car wrecks. I don't really remember if it was like before, during, or after. But I feel like we could also do a whole series on relating these cards to like recovery and 12-step programs.
Yeah. That's the hero's journey. Recovery, the 12 steps. Aren't there 12 steps in the hero's journey? Isn't that what it is? Like that goes hand in hand, right?
It makes it when I think about the Tower card coming before this card. And I remember one of our tarot teachers saying the Towers, like she has a friend or somebody that calls it the gift you cannot give yourself. That's the Tower card. And it's usually, just like so unexpected, so sudden, often traumatizing, but we have to accept it. And learning how to accept is like so hard.
When we get to the Tower card in this zodiac year, I think I'm pretty sure that's Mars that comes in Aries. Often the Tower is happening to us, for us, but I don't know how much we can make our own Tower moment happen. Because if we could have done that, if we could have done an upheaval, to me, that's the energy of the Devil card, is that I'm doing it. I'm overcoming it. I'm doing it. But the Tower card is like, I don't know how much control we feel like we had in that moment. So that's why the Star card coming out after that is like, okay, that happened. Now let's take a moment and meditate on what we know, like what happened, except, like, what do we have now? What do we have in this moment? I found this wonderful website. It's called tarotcake.com. And I found 2 quotes that I pulled off of their website. And the first one is, holding on to hope, especially in the wake of trauma or in the face of overwhelming difficulty, can feel pointless. But the star asks us to do it anyway. Right?
Wow, that kind of gave me chills.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that hope. You look up at the night sky, you see this tiny point of light, and it makes us feel hopeful, but it still can feel so pointless. But we do it anyway. And then the other one, I love Frida Kahlo, and in tarotcake.com, the author wrote, Frida Kahlo once wrote, at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. And then the author writes, the gift in that and the gift in the star is that through this endurance, we're transformed into something beautiful and new.
Yeah. That sums it up.
Yeah. We can endure much more than we think we can. Yeah. And the star card asks us to do it anyway. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Good time for the message from the universe. I have 3 cards from the Goddess Power Oracle deck. So pick 1, 2, or 3. Card 1 is Yuki Onna, Stillness. The Japanese goddess of winter, Yuki Onna, calls you to a practice of daily meditation and stillness to prepare you for greater productivity and results. Being open and receptive, slowing down, and allowing for time to dream activates your partnership with the universe so you can truly set your intentions in motion. Then, almost without effort, you discover their vibrational match in the world of form. Just as the life force quietly builds within a seed buried under the snow, so too will the energy build in the seed of your desires before manifesting with with no effort on your part. You will find how easy it is to co-create while implementing a practice of stillness and receptivity. Let others make the first move at this time as you assess and observe the world around you from the profound position of stillness and neutrality. In this way, the world becomes more intimate, yet you know to take nothing personally. When the goddess Yuki Onna comes to support you, be still. This calls in miracles. The action now is non-action. Card 2 is Lilith, independence. The Jewish goddess Lilith refused to be dominated by the first man, and as a result was called a demon in stories about her that followed. These inaccurate and damaging stories are so old and repeated so often that no one recognizes how pervasive their implications are. From another perspective, Lilith offers this lesson. No one can prevent you from fully blooming, from learning all you can, from evolving and choosing freedom. Only your conditioned thinking can do that. Be proud, be accountable, claim your power, and hold it wisely. Right now, you are in an excellent position to attract healthy, interdependent, collaborative relationships that truly serve the highest good. Friendships flourish with mutual respect and support. Love relationships bloom with ample space for both parties to grow. Business ventures thrive in service to the greater good. The goddess Lilith wants to show you the way to claim a healthy self-worth and self-respect by refusing to let your old stories keep you down. You will be amazed at how deep, meaningful, and respectful your experience becomes in all areas of your life when you make choices from a place of empowered independence. And card 3, Danu, assurance. The appearance of the Celtic earth goddess Danu, who gave birth to magic, portends the fulfillment of your desires and the fruition of your dreams. Whatever it is that you're inquiring about, Danu gives her assurance that you're in the process of becoming. Now is the time to trust that whatever you have planted, planned, and worked toward is being lovingly birthed. All you need to do is stay with the flow of events and be ready for your next opportunity. Everything has its perfect season. Just as fallow ground carries the promise of new life that appears again in the spring, as if magically bidden from the invisible to the visible, Danu offers her promise of grounded assurance.
I love it. Thank you, universe.
Thank you, universe. Thank you, goddesses.
I think next week we're back with the 5, 6, and 7 of swords.
Mm-hmm.
So until next week, listeners, thank you, and we love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.